All right, here we are at the Steal from the Best studio here at Vantage Venues, and we're welcoming with us real estate extraordinaire, Sarah Eby. We've got all of our malfunctions around our equipment sorted out, and we are ready to go. So, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
We're
Great to
really,
be here.
yeah, we're really excited to have you.
Thank you.
Before we dive into your real estate career, one of the things we love to do on Steal from the Best is learn about your past job history. We know that you graduated from the fine institution of Wilfrid University, but can you take us through some of those years after graduation?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. After I graduated, I moved to Amsterdam for a year for a bit of culture. And when I came back, then I worked for an advertising agency and then moved on to working for a beer company in mostly a marketing capacity. I went to the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver, and while I was doing that, I was working on getting my real estate license.
We might have had a few beers together in Vancouver, actually. I think I remember that.
Yes, I think I do too.
Oh, it's a good sign if you remember it.
Yeah. So you got your license around that time?
Yeah, while I was working on the Olympics,
Yeah.
I was getting my license at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, great. So one of the things we love to do is talk about how the personal life is intertwined with the work life. And I can't think of a profession that is more apt as far as that goes, being real estate and the hours, and it's far from a 9-to-5 job. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about how you go about your daily routine?
Yeah, sure. I put into place time blocks in my calendar so that I'm able to get to the things that I want to do and make me happy, but also too I get to the business part of things. So every morning I'll get up, I'll look at the new listings that have come out. So that I'm well prepared for the day. So if any clients are asking about specific houses or condos or whatever, I'm ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to agents' open houses, so I'm actually looking at the product on behalf of my clients, so that I can get back to them with a real sort of point of view on what the houses or condos are looking like and whether or not they might meet their needs. But with your question, you had sort of asked about how does like real life play into my professional life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to share a story with how I actually got into real estate.
Yep.
Before I got my license. So I was 29 or 30, and there was like absolutely, I was so far from getting married. I was single, and really like getting married was not on the horizon. So I found a condo that I liked from a friend of mine, and I sat my dad down and was like, Dad, you know, I'm not going to get married anytime soon. It's in the plan, but nowhere near happening now. So if there's any chance that you plan to give me some money for my wedding, could I please get an advance on it? Because I found this condo that I really like. And I'd like to use my wedding money as a down payment. So anyway, that's how I bought my first condo. And,
That's awesome. That's a great story. That's a great story.
Amazing.
I'd love to talk to your dad about that too. We'll have to get him on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, from that point forward, I loved the process and I was hooked. And I mean, I did eventually get married, but it was such a positive experience, and it was really, really worth the interest I had to pay on that loan.
Wow, that's amazing. So that was kind of your foray into real estate. When you first started off, you started off with a team?
I did, yeah. I was coming from a corporate job where there was like a paycheck every two weeks. There were benefits, all of those kinds of things. So going from that to absolutely nothing, there was a ton of risk. So, and I had zero experience in real estate. So I decided to join a team who had 30 years experience in the business so that I could do two things. One, learn from the best or somebody who had a ton of experience, and learn at a quicker rate than I would have on my own. And two, I would get leads from them. So I felt like there was a lot of learning in doing. And so in exchange for the leads, I gave up a significant portion of my commission, but it at least guaranteed that I would have some income coming in because I was single at the time. So I needed some sort of security.
Yeah. So were you scared to take on a 100% commission job?
Yes, I was terrified, but also I found it thrilling
Yeah.
because it was it forced me to make it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so talking about making it, let's talk about kind of the successes that you had
Sure.
early on. How did that work for you?
Yeah. When I got back from the Olympics, I started in real estate right away because I had gotten all of my qualifications. The team I was with gave me 3 clients, and within 6 weeks of starting, I sold all 3 clients on the same weekend.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was pretty awesome because at first I was like, I don't know who's going to buy from me. I've never sold a thing in my life before. I don't know who's going to buy a house from me. But yeah, I ended up selling all 3 in the same weekend.
Have you ever matched that? Have you ever done that since?
No, I haven't, but I'm up for the challenge.
Unbelievable.
That's awesome. And who were the 3? I mean, did you start off with friends and family, or
No,
who were the 3?
I didn't know them. They came as referrals to the team that I was working for. And in fact, one of the 3 was a single guy who was just looking to rent. And I convinced him that it was a way smarter play to buy than it was to rent. So he kind of came out. It was sort of a surprise to sell him, but
I thought you were talking about Darren. You're going to say that you convinced him to marry you, and that's how you met him. But
That's a story
I guess
for
that's
later.
a different story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, and he must be loving you though. If he bought, not Darren, obviously, I hope that he does, but the fellow who bought the condo from you 10 years ago. I mean, his investment is now like I can't even imagine where it's gone to from where he first got in. So good advice.
Yeah.
Sarah, good advice.
Sure.
thank you.
So talking about the success of having 3 deals in one weekend, how do you define success, and has your definition of success changed from early on in your career to kind of where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. Early on in my career, for me, success was defined as volume, like number of transactions, and income. But as I move through 10 years of real estate, that absolutely changed. And now it's more about building a life by design. So being able to do the things that I want to do, being able to spend time with my family, with my kids, while still making a decent income. So I've been able to, I have a business partner, and together we've been able to put systems in place that allow us to take vacation. And while we're on one's on vacation, the other person will fill in for whomever's away and manage their business. So I feel like getting to establishing myself and getting to a place where I'm not just working all the time is now how I define success.
Yeah. So you say you've got a business partner now. Kind of take the listeners through that. You used to be part of a team, and you broke off. What led to that?
What led to me leaving the team?
Yeah, what led to you leaving the team and kind of starting your own partnership?
Yeah, I started to get to a point when I was working for the team that, 2 things happened. One, I started to feel like I wanted to build my own brand equity in Sarah Eby. And 2, I got to a point where I was bringing in enough leads of my own that paying out 50% of my commission just didn't seem to make good sense. Wow. So when I looked at the numbers, I was like, well, based on what I've brought in, if I was to do it on my own and not pay out commission to anybody, I could do half the volume and still make what I'm making. Or I could do the same amount of volume and double what I'm making. So when I looked at it that way, it just sort of became a no-brainer.
Cool. I'd say so.
So I decided to leave the team. I went off on my own for a little bit, and then I met my partner Belinda, and we just really connected and decided, hey, we have the same point of view on how to do business. We see things similarly, and it just seemed we clicked. So it just seemed like it was the right thing to do. So we ended up partnering.
I'm sure it's great to have backup for one another, right? So like
100%.
Yeah, for sure. The markets that you're in, being Toronto, is totally been on fire throughout your career, of course. But that would breed a lot of competition. How do you differentiate your agency? I'm sorry.
I think customer service is number one. So we just, we haven't had a mission statement, if you can believe it. So we decided, okay, it's time we have a mission statement. And Maya Angelou is somebody who inspires both Belinda and I. So we found this really awesome quote, and it goes something like this. I probably am not going to recite it verbatim, but the essence of it is people won't remember what you said. People won't remember what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I feel that that's the essence of the customer service experience that we try to provide for all of our clients, because we really believe that investing in real estate is a huge thing. It's a lot of money. It's hugely emotional, and we want everybody we work with to feel that they are in good hands, and that they are our number one priority. Our business is driven by referrals. So you'll never see us on a big billboard or bus advertisement, because our business, 99% of it comes from doing a good job for our clients in the hopes that they refer their friends and family to us.
Cool. Yeah, it's quite unbelievable how many cheesy real estate commercials there are out there, aren't there?
Yes.
Must be nice not to have to play in that
arena.
Play that game.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Can you talk, I know it's just you and your partner, but a bit about the structure of your team? Obviously, there's a lot of work to do and divide it and whatnot. Is there anything that you do creatively for your structure and how you manage the workload?
Yeah, absolutely. We started to realize that we were spending a lot of our time doing administrative tasks, and what it was doing was taking us away from selling and focusing on our clients. So we decided to hire an assistant. We had an assistant that was local, but it ended up costing a lot of money for what we needed her to do. So we ended up hiring a virtual assistant who's based out of Grand Prairie, Alberta. And she helps us with all of the back end stuff. So doing all of the paperwork and the things that we really don't like doing, but more importantly, the things that take us away from our primary job, which is focusing on our clients and selling.
Brilliant. Well, you've certainly found some creative ways to manage the time. But how do you balance sort of the personal time, the personal life? Being at home, you're also a mother of two great kids. How do you do it all?
I would say that the number one thing is time blocking. So if it's not in my calendar, I've learned it doesn't happen. So things like going to the gym, I'll put it in my calendar in the morning or the afternoon for an hour, and I just plan around it. It's not a traditional 9-to-5 job, as you said. So spending time with my kids, I have to find ways outside of the traditional hours to do that. So I'll do things like pick them up at lunchtime and surprise them and take them out for lunch, or pick them up early from school and go out on a date. So that I'll do that, especially if I know I'm working that night and not going to be home for dinner.
Fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
So I think they like it because it's unexpected, and I still get to spend the time with them, even though it's not during the most traditional family times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, buying a house or buying a condo, buying real estate, probably one of the biggest investments that most people will make in their lifetimes. Along with that comes a ton of stress.
Yeah.
So you must be, you talk about dealing with brides and that being stressful, but dealing with somebody who's buying a house and laying all that kind of money down. How do you handle your client's stress? And also, I mean, I guess as a follow-up to that too, how do you handle your own stress?
Yeah, good question. The way I handle my client's stress is to try to stick to the facts and remind them of their objectives when we originally set out, because it's so easy to get caught up in the emotion of a bidding war and, having to go back and forth a couple of times and increase an offer. Buyers really resent that, and rightfully so, because there can be a feeling that it's a money grab. But if you remove that from the equation and you stick to the facts and you say, here's what market value is, here's how many offers there are. If you want to buy this place, this is what it's going to take. So you strip away all the emotion and you stick to the facts. You remind them that if it's a house, this is the house that you said you wanted. It checks all of these boxes. Let's go get it. So that they're not getting caught up in the details of what's going on around them making an offer. And the way I handle my stress is to try to detach myself from the outcome. I realize that there's only so many things I can do, but I can't control what the outcome is. So in order to do my job, I can equip my clients with the facts and as much information as possible. But in the end, it's their decision. So I can't control what happens. I can only do the best possible job in giving them the most information in order to make a good decision.
Yeah. You talk about the stress of bidding wars. Do you have any good stories for us?
Oh gosh, yes. It gets just so crazy. So I was on an offer a couple of weeks ago, one offer night, and there were 25 offers, and the next night there were 33. Wow. It's just like, how do you...
Sorry, the same property went from 25 to 30, or you're talking two different properties?
Two different properties, same client. So
yuck.
On the Tuesday night, there were 25 offers. We didn't get it. And then on the Wednesday, it was like, okay, you're not going to believe this, but there are 33 offers. So we just have to revise our offer strategy so that we can be competitive. And in that scenario, it just becomes a conversation of, here's what market value is. The competition is through the roof. Here's where I think you need to go. It is above market value. Do you have a plan in place if the property doesn't appraise? In this case, he did. So we were able to blow it out of the water. And we actually got it.
Awesome.
We won, yeah. But you have to have those candid conversations with people, especially in those stressful situations, because otherwise it's not going to happen.
They've probably already made market value by now.
Totally.
It's been a couple weeks, so yeah.
It's been a couple weeks, yeah. Cool. That's actually leads me to my next question, which is, how have you honed your negotiation skills? Obviously, there's a lot of negotiation in the process. Is there anything that you did from a educational standpoint, or is it just learning as you go?
I had kids. You become an expert negotiator with kids. No, but I had no negotiation experience to begin with. But every transaction is different in real estate, and I feel that really is where the learning comes from. And also, too, I analyze probably too much, but I analyze every single transaction that I do or negotiation that I do at the end to say, okay, what did I do really well? That was awesome. I'll do that again. What sucked and what would I never do again? Or how would I revise it to make it better? So I feel like over 10 years going through the process, every single time I pick up something new, and I also leave something behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any books or speakers or resources or anything that have helped inspire you along the way?
Yeah, absolutely. They're not necessarily real estate related, but I like to apply different people's thoughts and visions to real estate. So Brené Brown is somebody who my partner got me hooked on. And she's written this incredible book called The Gift of Imperfections. And the premise of it is really about trying to be your authentic self and not trying to be a chameleon to please all the people all the time, because really that's impossible. And when you do that, especially I feel like in real estate, when you do that, you do a disservice to yourself, because you end up resenting people because you're just being spread too thin. And you do a disservice to your clients as well, because you're not being authentic. You're trying to give them a message that you think that they will like, instead of a message that they need to hear. So in reading that book, it made me realize, okay, I think I need to tailor the way I say things and what I say to clients. And I feel like I'm a better person for it and a better agent for it.
Wow, awesome.
That's really cool. So what advice would you give to A, someone looking for their first home, or B, someone interested in investing for the first time in a home?
I think the advice would be the same, which is to stretch yourself, because reason being, what you buy now is going to serve as your leverage for your next purchase and your next purchase. So don't stretch yourself too thin where you can't sleep at night and you can't afford to be eating, but stretch yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone, because it's going to serve you well when you want to take the equity out of what you've bought to buy your next property.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So being in the business for a decade, I'm sure things have changed. I mean, being an outsider, I see these companies like Purple Bricks come in and other discount brokerages. What kind of a threat are they, and how do you compete against these types of companies?
I don't view them as a threat at all. I feel that a discount brokerage provides a discounted service, and somebody who's looking for a discounted service is not necessarily looking for what we provide. And it likely would, they have a different expectation of things. So I feel like it probably wouldn't be a good fit to begin with. So I don't see them as a threat, because we're not going after the same business, same clientele.
Yeah. And are there any other changes that you've witnessed in your time in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. Technology has certainly changed. I think for the better. It allows people to be more educated and knowledgeable about the marketplace. They have access to more information. Some people see that as, some agents might see that as a threat, but I don't, because it means that you can have a more educated conversation with people to say, okay, why was that comparable? Why was it not comparable? They seem to have buyers and sellers seem to have a better sense of value going in. So I feel like it kind of helps.
Good.
Okay, it's time, Sarah. You ready?
Oh, God.
It's
Yes.
time for the staple question
Yes.
on our show.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
What is a tip that you have stolen from the best?
I love it. I think recognizing that I can't control the outcome. I feel that gives me a perspective that just calms me right down, and makes for a less stressful interaction with whomever it is that I'm dealing with.
You talked about that earlier, and it totally resonated with me. It just sounds so hard to do. It's great advice, but it sounds incredibly difficult to do.
Yeah, it is, but I just know there's nothing. I can try to guide the outcome, but I know that in the end, I can't force somebody's actions. Mm-hmm. So I look at my job as being the one to provide all the information, mm-hmm. and being the one to provide my opinion. And if I've done those things, then I've done my part, but I cannot control what somebody else does. I guess it's just a perspective, and it's one that allows me to breathe a bit easier.
Yeah. Now, were there any mentors along your real estate journey? I know, or other influences that kind of helped you get to where you were? I know your dad, who forked over the money to buy your first condo, probably had a good play in that.
Yes. Yeah. My dad is absolutely a mentor of mine. He's always taught us some really great lessons. You know, he's an accountant and a finance guy by trade, and so the value of a dollar and the importance of saving is something that was instilled in my brother and I from a really young age. I would also say that my business partner, Belinda, is a mentor of mine. She's a couple years older than me, and a couple years ahead of me in real estate. And I always find that she sees things in a way that is just so insightful, and in a way that I sometimes wouldn't have thought of. So I value her perspective and advice. And knowing that she has a bit more experience under her belt, I really look up to her and rely on what she has to say.
Mm-hmm. It takes a tremendous amount of hustle in that real estate industry. What is it that motivates you to keep going and be in that field?
I think what motivates me in general is when somebody underestimates me or tells me I can't do something. So when I first wanted to get into, I knew I wanted to do sales. I just didn't know what I wanted to sell per se. When I was working for the beer company, I wanted to get into sales there, but I had worked for them for 10 years in a marketing capacity. And so when I went to them with this, they basically said, well, you don't have any experience, so you can't do it. And I was like, okay, watch me. So
Awesome.
So then I got my real estate license, and I just feel like that still drives me to this day.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Super cool.
Thanks.
I love it.
I love that too. Why don't you tell us something that not many people would know about you?
I was on TV. I used to be a reporter on TV in my early 20s.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, when I worked for the beer company, I would report live from these events, and it would air on city TV. I know, it's so funny, like the career paths, right? Like you never imagined that going from that to real estate.
One of our previous guests was a reporter.
Totally, Erin Henderson.
She
It's
took
great
a change
experience,
too.
right? Like it's just the confidence that it takes and all that. Like it's tremendous experience.
Yeah, totally. Taught me to
cool.
kept me on my toes, right?
Yeah. So it would air how often would that air on?
I think it was 3 times a week during the late movie and the late great movie.
They know their target market. Yeah, those beer companies know their target market.
They sure do.
Yeah.
Sarah, this has been awesome. I have one more question for you, though.
Sure.
What of all the things you've done, it's a great story. What are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. My kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids.
That's great, as you should be.
Thank you.
Right on. Yeah, Sarah, thank you so much for coming in and joining Andrew and I today on Steal from the Best. You got an awesome story to get to where you are today and all the success. And you've shared some really amazing insight and tips with the listeners. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Great.
Sarah.
Thank you.
It's been great.